Hello and welcome to another session of Informally Formal. I am once again excited to have with us Professor Muhammad Tamim for our second episode. The first one, we talked about the energy mix in Bangladesh, and we picked his brain as to what he thinks ought to be the right energy mix moving forward for Bangladesh. Today, we would like to talk about the renewable energy scenario. But those of you that missed my first session, let me briefly introduce Professor Tamim. He is a BUET graduate in mechanical engineering, IIT Madras, I believe, also in mechanical engineering masters, and then from University of Alberta, he did his doctoral work in petroleum engineering, professor of petroleum and mineral resources in BUET. He's been teaching there for several decades. He was the special assistant to the chief advisor in the caretaker government in charge of power, energy, mineral resources ministry. He was also pro VC for BRAC and dean of engineering at BUET. So a very warm welcome to you, Tamim.
Thank you.
So Tamim, over to you. Tell us, first of all, what is the current landscape? How much renewable energy do we have right now? And what is the prospect of going to maybe 5% or 10% that you envisioned way back in 2008? Over to you, Professor Tamim.
Thank you. Yeah, in 2008, I attended a World Renewable Energy Conference in Washington, and then I pledged that, we'll have to formalize. Before that, the renewable energy policy was lying in a website for 15 years. So right after coming back in March 2008, I started working on it. Of course, I had my input. It was done as a teamwork from the ministry, and it was approved in November, October or November 2008. So there we envisioned that at least 10% electricity should come from renewable energy by 2020, in 12 years back, 13 years back. Unfortunately, since 2009, this government has given a lot of emphasis on renewable. I'm not saying that they haven't given. They gave a lot of projects on renewable energy, especially from 2011-12 onwards. Actually, 2014 onwards, they have approved several renewable energy, especially solar energy projects, and anywhere between 10 megawatt to 200 megawatt. So a total of about 2000 megawatt projects have been approved. In terms of 142 megawatt in a 2000 megawatt grid capacity, the percentage is very little, 0.7% or 0.5% or something like that. But in terms of energy production, it is even less. So we are far, far behind in terms of achieving our renewable energy objectives or goal. There are many projects right now, about 700 megawatt, I think, will be coming online maybe in next 2-3 years. They are in different stages of completion. So some of those projects that were approved has resolved their problems. So hopefully by 2030, we may have 1500 megawatt or so solar power plant.
Have we looked at offshore windmills?
Offshore also, the wind mapping has been done for some offshore areas too. So, but offshore wind is very expensive unless the commercial viability has to be tested and looked into before any company comes in, because government cannot invest in this kind of thing. It has to be a private investment. Current business as usual, if you look at the expansion and everything, there are many other areas where renewables can grow. One is rooftop. We are talking about rooftop and two-way metering. That means you use as much as you are using, and then rest of it goes to the network. And there is a net metering that will give you plus minus what you owe to the utilities. So that will be adjusted with your next bill. So if you give the utility back some electricity, that will be deducted from the one that you have taken from them. So that two-way metering guideline has been already passed, and few projects have been already approved, and they're working. 2 or 3 projects they're working. So that has, in my opinion, has a very good opportunity of growing. Now, how far it will grow, it depends on the business people, because most of the rooftop opportunities are on top of the factories, which has a large rooftop. Okay, so that is going to go. You need about, during the March period, February, March, April, during that period, the irrigation, Boro cultivation, we need about 1000 to 1200 megawatt for irrigation purpose.
Right. So if I hear you correctly, in a land-scarce country like Bangladesh, difficult to find a single patch of land that's large enough for a large-scale solar power plant. That's one. But encouraging in what you, if I hear you correctly, is the net metering that is being pursued. And if businesses take interest in that and utilize their industrial rooftop to make use of that net metering, as well as what you mentioned about the Boro season, that could be, that's pretty encouraging.
Yes, absolutely. But the most important thing is the policy support, government and utility support to encourage it, incentives, because you need initial high investment, especially subsidy. For a poor farmer to have a solar system, it is impossible for him to buy the solar system for irrigation purpose. So it has to be community owned. You have to come up with models. You have to come up with innovations. We have land scarcity, but then the innovation, unless we don't have innovation, like there are some talk going on that you can have some areas elevated solar panels where you can also do agriculture. There are some plants which don't need direct sunlight. It can grow under a panel with the diffused light.
Right.
Okay. So that kind of innovations is required, and technology is increasing, improving. We used to have only 12% efficiency of solar panels. That requires, for 1 megawatt, that required 4 acres of land, 4.5 acres of land. Now it has come down to 3 acres because the efficiency has gone up 18-20% now. It's in the market, you can find 20% efficiency solar panels. Okay. And the work is going on in the lab. They have gone up to as high as 40%. It has not been commercialized yet, but commercially available panels are there, which has a 25% efficiency. So your land requirement is coming down. So with time, the technology is changing. So I think we can do as much as possible. The solar energy roadmap, which is being promoted by SREDA, and Sustainable and Renewable Energy Development Authority, that is the policy solar energy roadmap that is highly dependent on the Bangladesh Delta Plan 2100. And Delta Plan is a large scale river and land reclamation project. So there, if only the reclaimed land along the banks of the rivers, which are being part of the Delta Plan, it has multiple uses, multiple purposes, but one of them is to reclaim some land, and stable land, because for renewable you need stable land. Something which is breaking every year due to the flood is not a good place to keep your renewable. There is also proposals for floating projects in Kaptai and other places. It has been proposals, but there is counter argument too, why not to do it, because of, again, environment and biodiversity and other issues. So we are actually learning and things are evolving. It's very difficult to predict where we are going and which particular area or technology will flourish. But the most important thing is your mindset. If the government is really wants to do the transition, then it has to adapt enabling policy, rules, regulations.
Right. Professor Tamim, I hear you correctly. There has to be political will in order for any project or proposal to move forward, so political will has to be there.
Absolutely.
That goes without saying, yeah. But in any event, Professor Tamim, let me switch gears now. We have talked about intra-regional connectivity in terms of power. Renewable power, for example, from Nepal, from Bhutan, connecting with India, we buy some power from India as well. But what if, just what if, the whole world could be interconnected, where we could have—
There are ideas.
That's what I want to ask you is, like in the deserts, Gobi Desert, there's the Sahara and other places and stuff, what have you. Of course, there are certain people that argue, of course, with how much of that can be deployed. But nevertheless, if we could think in terms of a world interconnected power system, wouldn't that be awesome?
25 years back, nobody thought of the internet. Nobody thought that you and I could talk like this over the internet, like as if you were sitting in front of me.
Right.
All right. Nobody thought that the world of knowledge will be in your hand in a cell phone, right? If you ask somebody 25 years back that is going to be the future, they will laugh at you. So I wouldn't discard any of these ideas. It is possible. If the world of internet is connected all over the world, why not a power grid? Because human being has been most innovative, especially when they put into a difficult position. They come out with innovation, and innovation may take us anywhere. It is possible.
Absolutely.
In terms of our actual reality, we definitely need a regional grid. It is required for renewable energy, because you understand renewable energy is a variable source of energy. Day-night variation, rainy weather variation. So it's a variable energy. Okay. So the variability of energy supply of any renewable, because one day you might have a completely silent, quiet day and no wind is flowing. That can happen, especially in our country. So how do you compensate that? Either you have to have a storage or you have to have a backup, and that backup is fossil fuel backup. So there are a lot of challenges, especially the grid. For renewable energy, you have to have a smart grid. Up to 10%, the conventional grid that we have now, it can accommodate up to 10% of electricity coming from renewable. There is no problem. You don't need major changes or major adaptation. But if it goes beyond that, if it becomes 20%, 30% coming from renewable, then you have to have a very smart grid, and you have to have multiple source storage as well as regional connectivity. So it is actually, regional grid gives us a lot of comfort. At the same time, there are a lot of challenge.
Absolutely.
But the challenges can be faced with technology. Technology can handle those challenges.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Professor Tamim, we're running out of time here, but it has always been wonderful. So now, just to quickly recap, of course, technology, advancement in technology, in particular storage, batteries, is coming along very, very rapidly. So that would be essential. Smart, intra-regional connections and connectivity. That is something I'm sure the government is looking into. That will also help. Even in Bangladesh, like there is a tremendous, disparity in how much we need in terms of energy, summer months as opposed to winter months. So storage capacity and batteries, intra-regional connectivity, and all of that good stuff. Professor Tamim, I could go on and on, pick your brain, but unfortunately, we have to wrap it up right here. I cannot thank you enough for your time. And I would like to leave here with an invitation to bring you back again to talk about many more subjects, because I know there are other areas that I would love to pick your brain, specifically on education. So till a future date, I thank you again and like to thank our audience for joining us for this wonderful session. Stay safe. I'll catch you in the next session. Bye-bye.